rides for you this weekend. That's what the St. Louis Taxi Cab Commission said. Yesterday when we left you, it looked like Uber was going to be able to at least give free rides. Not so. Later in the day yesterday, it was announced that they were denied the application, I guess, for a free ride. So no Uber for you this weekend. Sagar Shah is with us. You are the Uber General Manager. Good morning, Sagar.
Hey, good morning, McGraw.
Did I get that right, Sagar?
Yep, Sagar.
Sagar Shah. All right, Sagar. You're here to give the Uber side of the story. What happened? You guys are not allowed to charge for rides. So you guys decided to make Uber free for everybody for the 4th of July weekend?
Well, 4th of July is a great celebration of family, friends, and it's also time and weekend in which there's a lot of drunk driving, and we've seen this historically, and right. It's a weekend in which I think about approximately half of accidents are caused by drunk driving. So we wanted to do the service to the community of St. Louis and bring free rides for the weekend through UberX and allow people to have access to safe, affordable rides at no cost. And that proposal, we submitted it to the Metropolitan Taxi Commission, and we're blocked from doing so. And it's really disappointing because saying no to free, reliable transportation to avoid drinking and driving is just wrong.
All right, let's get to a couple things. Was it truly free, or was I going to be asked to tip, or was I going to be demanded to tip, or was it truly a free ride?
There is no tipping with Uber. So at the end of the trip, you pay the fare, and that's the way it goes. So free means free, and we're going to offer free rides, multiple rides, right, for each rider over the weekend.
And this was going to go from when to when?
This was going to go from Thursday to Sunday.
So starting today through Sunday.
Exactly. Since most people have Friday off, the celebrations for 4th of July typically begin on Thursday night. We wanted to definitely account for that.
Right. All right. So the St. Louis Taxi Cab Commission said what?
The St. Louis Taxi Commission blocked us from doing so. We've been talking to them for several months now, and we've made it crystal clear in terms of the types of regulations that we can operate under. The similar regulations in Chicago and Austin, Texas, and what's been done in Kansas City and a number of states all around. Actually, 49 jurisdictions in the U.S. have passed regulations similar to those.
Okay, so from what the St. Louis Taxi Cab Commission is saying is that they said, we'll let you give free rides. You just have to have your drivers pass a background check, fingerprint, and do all the things that a taxi driver has to go through. Once you do that, you'll be able to give free rides.
And we've made it crystal clear to them that we can't do that. Our model doesn't work, and if we're to operate here permanently, that doesn't work for us. If we're here to operate temporarily, we definitely doesn't work for us to do that in a matter of 12 hours.
So you could do it, but the time frame was the problem?
No, I mean, it doesn't work in general at all, and it's impossible to do so, and I think they very well knew that, and that's why that proposal is blocking us from coming here.
The Taxi Cab Commission says it's not their rule, it's a state rule. That's just the rule of the state, and that's the rule that's there, and so you have to abide by the state rule.
That's not true. And, the commission is moving the goalposts every time we talk about this. A year ago, they filed an injunction against our competitor ride-sharing company from operating in St. Louis. Months ago, they said that they're going to compromise. Weeks ago, they said there are 3 issues at stake. Recently, they said there are 2 issues at stake, and now they're saying this. So it's really not true. And if you look at the statute, there are multiple parts of the story that are just not being discussed from a legal perspective.
So if the taxi driver has to go through a background check, fingerprinting, everything else they have to do through whatever various means, and then have insurance, why shouldn't Uber have to have that same requirement?
Well, Uber is different, and the ride-sharing industry is different. This is something new, and this is something that's only been created in the last couple of years. And a lot of these regulations have been crafted based on the world 15, 20 years ago. Cities and states around the country have recognized this, and they've passed modern regulations that prioritize safety, but also account for the fact that we're living in a new world, in a very digital world now. There are things that Uber does. Obviously, we conduct background checks on every driver before they come on the platform. There's insurance provided through Uber for every trip. That's actually 5 times the amount required for a taxi. And on top of that, we do a bunch of stuff that taxis don't do. We have live GPS tracking for every trip. Each transaction is cashless, so drivers aren't holding hundreds of dollars of cash on their person at every time. And there's 24/7 feedback and response system, which is really important because every time drivers are rated and riders are rated, and there's mutual accountability. Taxis don't do those, and those are things that we're going above and beyond to provide safety.
Sagar Shah is with us, an Uber general manager of the St. Louis region, just announced that Uber was denied the ability to give free rides over the weekend. I was joking on the break. Since I use an Uber app to call an Uber car to come pick me up for free, if I text my friend and say, come pick me up, and they pick me up using their car, is that illegal through the Taxi Cab Commission?
You would have to ask them that question.
Because basically that's the same thing, right? Uber's just a friend I haven't met yet. In a sense.
And we are there providing safe rides this weekend, right? So our goal for this weekend is to reduce drunk driving and to provide rides for free in order to do those.
So you're abiding by the Taxi Cab Commission ruling. You are not going to give away free rides this weekend.
Well, this was their decision, and I think they know that, and ultimately them choosing to do so is blocking us.
Right.
But
you could, as a company, say, we're going to disregard this, and we're going to go ahead and do it anyway.
Well, again,
you could if you wanted to.
This is something that the Tax Commission has shown us, and the mayor has been informed as well, and has been involved and has been supportive to Uber's position in this matter, and was supportive of providing free rides over the weekend.
Yeah, Uber, we should say, exists in Southern Illinois.
Correct. So we are actually operational in the Metro East, right across the Mississippi River. And in fact, those are many of the same driver partners that would have been providing rides this weekend as well.
So this weekend, or any weekend, or any day, you can start and get Uber. And for those of us who don't know what we're talking about, it's an app on your phone. It's a ride-sharing app. You monitor the car. You pick a car, or the car picks you. It picks you up, and you pay through your phone. And it's a car, and it's usually somebody's car, and they're picking up an extra couple of dollars, and they drive you in their own car to where you want to go.
Yeah, and one of the biggest differences between UberX and traditional taxi model is that a lot of these drivers are part-time. You look at Kansas City, over 50% of them are driving less than 6 hours per week. Mm-hmm. So these are not full-time drivers or full-time. They're basically doing this to supplement their income, and it offers a real flexible opportunity for them to create extra earnings at their own schedule.
Is St. Louis, if it's available and legal and everyone's okay with it in the Metro East, could you go to St. Charles? Is there a problem with you going to St. Charles?
We've actually been talking with St. Charles, and they've been incredibly supportive of bringing UberX to St. Charles as well, and the entire county of St. Charles has been supportive.
Right.
St. Charles City themselves is actually going to be taking up this matter and taking it to a vote, I believe, this month as well.
So you think that maybe in the very near future Uber will be available in St. Charles?
That's entirely possible, yes.
What about St. Louis County? Where are you with St. Louis County?
Well, the Metropolitan Taxi Cab Commission is essentially a state-created body that controls rules for ground transportation related in St. Louis City and County. So it would apply to both in terms of our...
So the Taxi Cab Commission is under the St. Louis County and St. Louis
Correct.
City. So if you can take Uber from Southern Illinois to a Cardinal game, you just can't take Uber from a Cardinal game back to Southern Illinois.
Right.
Yeah. And if St. Charles goes through, you can take the car from St. Charles to St. Louis City or St. Louis County. You just can't take it from St. Louis County to St. Charles.
So it's a one-way trip, essentially.
Yeah. You've had other fights in other cities with all of this. Is St. Louis the largest city that Uber is not allowed to be in?
Yeah, so St. Louis is the largest metro area without Uber in the United States, and what's the Taxi Cab Commission makes it's a really unique situation, I would say. Typically, in other cities, we work with city councils, the mayor, that are elected officials, and the Taxi Cab Commission is largely comprised of taxi cab owners and operators. Currently, there are 3 owners and operators that sit on the Taxi Cab Commission, and that's one of the reasons it's been quite difficult.
What's your next move? What are you going to do?
Well, at this point, the having the public support and having people voice their opinions is incredibly important. And, the mayor's been supportive, and the mayor's been supportive of the idea for free rides in St. Louis this weekend. And that really means the world to us. And I think likely other folks in St. Louis have been speaking up. It has been very impactful because at the end of the day, Uber is, yes, an app on your smartphone, but it's largely the community that it serves. It's the driver partners who are helping their neighbors get around their community every day, and it's the riders that use the system to explore the city better.
I have no time. St. Louis Mayor Slay has been in favor of it. What has County Executive Steve Stenger said about Uber?
This is something that's going to create jobs. It's going to create jobs and allow people to get around their cities better. So I would hope and expect that that's something that everybody would want.
So he hasn't said anything?
Again, I have not. You'd have to ask the county executive's office.
But you don't know if he's working for or against it. He hasn't acknowledged one way or the other.
You'd have to ask them for a position.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Sagar Shah, who is the Uber General Manager for the St. Louis region. You're always welcome here. Thanks for checking in. 9:48 here, Big 550.